Good afternoon, everyone. A warm and sincere welcome to this webinar curated by ET in association with Symphony AI Summit. And the topic in focus today is going to be acing financial regulatory compliance to optimize BFSI operations. I am Saurav Kumar, editor with the Economic Times, and I will be the conductor of this webinar. A front page news this morning in the Economic Times said the government has started discussions on building new filters and safeguards for digital financial transactions amid rising concern over burgeoning cases of fraud. The Ministry of Finance, RBI, MeitY, and NPCI are working together to examine mandatory filters above a certain threshold for digital payments. A source was quoted as saying that the idea is to prevent fraudulent transactions from taking place, and for that, systems need to be alert and intelligent enough to do it well in time. And there are reasons for these concerns. There are close to 11 billion monthly transactions settled via UPI alone, involving close to rupees 18 lakh crore. These are staggering numbers by any imagination. So it is not a surprise that all financial regulators, the Reserve Bank of India, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, the Securities and Exchange Board of India have come up with various guidelines and policies for IT asset management that are significantly impacting the operations of BFSI entities. And of course, these rules are witnessing updates ever so frequently. These rules and regulations need to be complied with, though the task is no child's play. With more and more devices, mobile phones, laptops getting attached to operations of BFSI entities, and ever increasing system to system interactions with third party vendors, the challenges and complexities of BFSI players multiply manifold. The stakes of ignoring IT asset management are too high, and the urgency of regulations, along with the importance of baseline controls, makes it a Herculean task. And failure to meet compliance standards will not only mean underutilization of assets, but will also lead to mammoth financial losses. This is where players such as Symphony AI Summit come in with solutions which can ensure that BFSIs are compliant with rules and regulations, users are safe, and the economy is in good health. To talk more about this, we have with us today Deepak Raghavan, Principal Solutions Consultant, Symphony AI Summit, who has had a professional journey of over 17 years in the IT service management. Deepak's expertise particularly lies in providing pre-sale support, steering business outcomes, and making substantial contributions to product innovation within the ever-evolving landscape of IT service management. Welcome, Deepak, and we look forward to your insightful contributions as the key speaker for today's webinar. Before I hand over the space to Deepak, I request all our listeners to post your questions during Deepak's presentation, and he will take up those questions post his talk. Also, there would be two quick quizzes in between, and I request everyone to participate, and we will be publishing the results instantly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. It's a pleasure. Deepak, all yours.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you so much. Very good afternoon to everyone. Let me start sharing my screen and start this webinar for the day. Hi, everyone. This is Deepak Raghavan. I've been introduced by Saurabh. Thank you so much for that. So we are part of Symphony AI Summit, and we as a Summit AI group stand as a leading enterprise AI SaaS company leveraging predictive and generative AI SaaS solution to deliver rapid value through operational efficiency and AI-driven recommendations. We are comprising of 6 distinct entities like retail, CPG, financial crime prevention, media, manufacturing, and IT service, enterprise service management. And we as Summit, we belong to this entity, IT and enterprise service management. We as a group cater to a diverse range of industries. With a global presence, we serve 1,300 plus customers worldwide. spanning across various sectors. Our workforce for over 3,000 employees operates across 33 countries. We have been added by Mr. Sanjay Dhawan as a Group CEO for Symphony AI, with Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani serving as the founder and chairman. Our headquarters are located in Palo Alto, California, while our research and development hub is situated in Bangalore, India. Symphony AI Group has earned multiple accolades, and for Summit specifically, we have been recognized and we have been awarded various different from very different recognition players. Like we have been given five times consecutive award or recognition for Gartner Peer Insights Customer Choice. We are the major player status in the IDC MarketScape, and we have been winning CIO Choice Award for last 6 years in continuously. Right? Additionally, we are also recognized as a leader in the ISG provider lens for the enterprise service management. Our global enterprise customer base spans diverse industrial verticals, including telecommunications, financial services, auto and manufacturing, technology and consulting, healthcare and consumer. From the BFSI specific, we have all the major insurance players who are part of us consuming our solution uh, for managing their operations and other compliance related activities, right? With this, I will ask our host to have the first polling questions so that I can stop sharing. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Your response will contribute to our discussion to enhance the IT asset management and regulatory compliance in the dynamic BFSI sector. Continuing with it, enhancing the compliance in BFSI with Symphony AI Summit IT Asset Management Solution, the Reserve Bank of India guidelines and regulations for asset management in India are principally overseen by SEBI. Right, adhering to the SEBI's regulation is imperative for companies in India, ensuring transparency, fairness, and bolstering the investor confidence. Right. With keeping this into mind, to gain the valuable insights into RBI's comprehensive framework, we from Summit would help you with these key components, which includes inventory management for business IT assets, preventing execution of unauthorized software, user access control management, removal media policies, incident response and management, uh, identification of assets and the cyber risk, disposal of systems and storage, majorly doing the asset lifecycle management. So we would be helping you with these key components using our solution, which complies or the from the RBI guidelines what exactly is required from the policy perspective, right? Moving ahead, there's a common trend that's a continuous service improvement framework across RBI, SEBI, IRDA for the enhanced security and resilience. While all three regulatory agencies share similar goals and concerns regarding cybersecurity, it is noteworthy that RBI's framework stands out as the most thorough and exhaustive. Its comprehensive set of rules emphasizes the critical importance of cybersecurity readiness for banks, NBFCs, securities, insurance, and other financial industries. Adhering to the regulatory guidelines, IT asset management stands out as a crucial baseline control for maintaining compliance with cybersecurity and resilience framework. Right, a major financial institution without an IT asset management program might face certain risk ranging from the security breaches to the non-compliance with the regulations, which include failure to meet compliance or regulatory standards, misplacement or loss of inventory, audit failures, underutilization of the assets. Right. To overcome this, we as a summit IT asset management solution, how we help the BFSI in remaining compliant with the regulatory guidelines. One is we can have a comprehensive tracking and tracking management. That is, Symphony AI Summit Airtime solution enables banking and financial institutions to successfully track and manage all information related to the asset hardware and software, inventory, stock procurement, vendor license, contracts, right? This comprehensive approach provides proactive security control and ensures compliance, which in turn helps in cost reduction benefits like up to 20 to 25% of reduction in the overall inventory cost, up to 70 to 20% of reductions in the non-compliance penalties, right? These are some of the parameters which we have been getting the results over the period of time, where we have been solutioning to the different set of customer base across the similar kind of verticals, right? Coming to the next slide, the key feature of Summit AI solution is to drive effective visibility, control, and compliance with the Symphony AI Summit IT Asset Management solution. By integrating ITAM and our service automation, we can provide a holistic solution which has better visibility to gain the comprehensive visibility into the asset hardware and software inventory, procurement, and more. Have a better control with respect to effectively managing assets, reducing the risk of non-compliance and security breaches, and adhering to all the compliance, ensuring the adherence to the regulatory standards and the license agreements. Right? From the Summit AI solution features, gives the complete visibility and control with our asset management, including discover and track hardware and software assets for better control and compliance, accurate and reliable asset inventory for financial control and compliance, cost saving and improved security, effective and efficient asset tracking and tagging. Right. Our critical features include critical features include like agent and agentless discovery, real-time inventory management for both software and hardware variants, software license governance and compliance, software distribution and profile mapping, remote control, whitelisting and backlisting of applications, proactive compliance using the endpoint compliance monitoring, optimizing asset utilization using the auditing and reconciliation, local password management for your all the admins, comprehensive lifecycle management for all the assets, could be your IT assets or non-IT assets, rich analytics and reporting with pre-built 100 plus reports, right? Coming to each of the solution with discovery perspective, we have both agent-based discovery and agentless discovery, which can discover all your assets, which could be your Windows-based assets or non-Windows-based assets, could be your Linux flavors or your network devices or your Mac OS devices, right? We use different protocols like WMI for Windows, Telnet for your non-Windows, especially from the Mac OS thing, and then SSH for all your Linux devices, and SNMP protocol for your network devices, right? And from the discovery perspective, for your IT asset management, we could also do hardware asset management and software asset management. From the hardware asset management, we can do the complete lifecycle management of the assets. We can provide the hardware variants. So whenever there is that post a discovery, it has found variants from whatever you have done the baselining. It can show it as a variance, and asset admin can take the necessary action. You could do the reconciliation in the periodical manner, where you could schedule the reconciliation process. We could have alerts for all your assets contracts. So wherever there's a contract been mapped to your assets, and if the contracts are about to expire, there could be multiple different alerts coming in. You could perform the allocation of your assets and get the complete picture of your asset details, starting from the asset hardware information and software information. From the software perspective, you can have the complete inventory of your software. We can do software metering, the software blacklisting and whitelisting of the software wherever it's necessary, or you want to get the complete overview of your software compliance report, which can give you from the procured count to the actual usage count. Endpoint compliance for your devices end-to-end can be managed, and the reports can be generated towards that, right? And we could also use our automation or you could also package softwares and deploy softwares wherever it's necessary, and we could also use our automation to do the automated software deployment wherever it's necessary, right? From the lifecycle management of the asset perspective, we can do the complete lifecycle management, starting from procurement of the assets until the disposal of the assets. And we could also seamlessly integrate with any of your ERP system to have all the financial information to be onboarded to all your assets, and it can follow the post GRN workflows to have the assets allocated into your required stores, and from where you could do the actual allocations, right? And from the asset lifecycle management, you could manage both your IT assets, which could be a discoverable or non-discoverable asset, and you could also manage for your non-IT assets, right? And you could have multiple different templates which you could configure using just a drag and drop functionalities, which we provide from our tool perspective, which is low code, no code functionality. You don't require any coding knowledge to do that. And you could manage the complete lifecycle management from, like, you have to move to the repair, you want to have the repair tracking process for your assets, you want to move the assets to the scrap, or for all the allocated assets, you also give you an option where you would be able to have the QR code or the barcode generated for your assets, and you could paste it up to all your assets. And then you could also do something called as physical verification, which is another important compliance parameter which you need to be following. So you could also do physical verification. And this physical verification, again, you could use our mobile app provided by Summit, or you could also integrate with any of the RFID which is available in the market to do the same, right? With physical verification, we can also do digital asset reconciliation. This is again in a compliance parameter where your asset admin can always go ahead and schedule the reconciliation process, where the users would receive a notification asking them to confirm the assets what they hold, and either they can do it via an email or by logging to the web portal. They can comply and provide the reconciliation. And wherever it's necessary, if users are not responding, you want to have an escalation matrix towards that, yeah, even those are out of box configurable, right? We could also have contracts and warranties which could be onboarded into our Summit system, and which could be linked to your both hardware assets and software assets. And you could always have notifications triggered before the warranty expires, so that the asset admin can take the necessary action either to extend the warranty or come up with a new warranty for the assets. And you could also have asset depreciation calculation for all your assets. You could have different formulas where it can calculate the depreciation of the assets. And if you want to have a report where you want to showcase the assets which are about to expire in next 3 to 4 years, you want to have a report of that, you would be able to get those set of information also, right? So we do have integration capability to integrate with any third-party system using our REST API, especially for asset management. We can seamlessly integrate with any ERP solutions. So we also have proactive compliance where we can do application control for all your assets, especially like whitelisting and blacklisting of the softwares, or you want to do the complete endpoint compliance. We do have 180 plus parameters towards that. We have local admin password management from the proactive compliance perspective, wherein you are expected admins to not to hold any or store any passwords, and they can dynamically generate the admin passwords wherever it's necessary to take the remote of the systems, right? Then we also have our service automation capability, which is nothing but our orchestration, which helps us to do the complete automation for wherever it's necessary, especially from the asset management perspective. We can seamlessly have the software deployment. So if any of your organization using like Intune or any other software deployment platform you're using, we can seamlessly integrate with that, where users can log a ticket to asking for certain softwares, where it can go ahead and check if the software is available in the software inventory, and if it's available, it can also go for certain kind of approval, post approval. It can take that security group and put it in the Intune for deploying that software, where it can track, and once it is deployed successfully, it can resolve the ticket and also notify the user about the software deployment. Similarly, if software is not available, in that case, uh, from the software inventory, if there are no available software, in which case it can also have a task initiated to the procurement team to procure that particular software. And once they procure, it can automatically go ahead and update the software inventory. And again, it can follow the process of updating the security groups in the necessary in tune, and start the software deployment and track that until it has been deployed successfully, and resolve the ticket and notify the user. So we do have that capability perspective, right? Now, quickly, I would. This is overall. I spoke about the overall benefit, what we get, or the complete control and visibility what we get from our asset management, where you would be able to track end-to-end asset lifecycle management. Or you would be able to accurately and reliably have asset inventory for financial control and compliance, how it can help you in saving your cost, and how it can enhance your security compliance, and effectively manage and track your assets wherever it's necessary, right? And for the features also, we have discussed holistically at the other slide what all we do, from different types of discoveries, real-time inventory management for your assets, your variance, what we can do. I'll also showcase as part of few screens how it is been showcased. Then the software distribution and profile mapping. You can take the remote desktop of the assets, whitelisting and blacklisting of the applications, local password management, proactive compliance, right? So I'll quickly move to my demo screens to showcase few demo on that part. So just give me a minute. So very first thing is, as an users who are having all the assets which have been allocated to them, they can just go to my asset list, where they would be able to see all the assets which are allocated to them. And these assets could be your fixed assets like laptop, desktops, or it could be accessories and consumables like printer, toner, CD, DVD, mouse, laptop batteries. Or if there are any softwares which are allocated to the user, license softwares, they would be able to see that. From the fixed asset perspective, they can take necessary action. So whenever the assets are allocated to the user, so there's a compliance that they should accept the asset, they should provide the acknowledgement of the asset. So they get an option to either accept the asset or reject the assets wherever it's necessary. So they can just come here, just click on accept the assets, and once they click on accept the assets, they can provide for what usage type, and then provide the remarks, and you can have your own terms and conditions based on different category of assets what you would have, right? Then we also have our asset dashboard, where for the asset admins, they can overview, completely go through all the assets, starting from their fixed assets, how many are allocated, in store, inactive, or in repair. Similarly, the consumables, the accessories, the softwares, what are your software inventories, how many softwares are in store, how many are allocated, how many are inactive, right? Similarly, you could also have variance information wherever you have the hardware variants or software variants. You could generate those hardware variants and software variants, check those informations, go through your software non-compliance details. So from the variance part, we have a dedicated place for the asset admins to just go to the variants and click on the variants to check the hardware variants and software variants, where they can specifically check for a specific category. Like for example, I'm just taking an example, like for desktop category, I want to see in my inventory for my all my desktop category if there are any variants which have come. So if there are any variants, it will show up something like this, where they can just click on the variants to see what exactly the variance is. So earlier in the initial scan, the host name which was there was tech terms, whereas post the next discovery, it has seen that variance, there's a host name change, so it is highlighting that in the uh, amber color, right? Now, the asset admin can either baseline this, if they feel they want to baseline this specific thing, they would be able to baseline this, or they can take the necessary action. Similarly, even for the software variants also, so an asset admin can just go select the specific category and check the variants of the softwares pertaining to that particular assets, right? So similarly, even in software variants, when you click on that, it can check that initial discovery there were some softwares which were showing up, but the next discovery there are more softwares which has shown up from the discovery perspective. Now the asset admin has an option to either baseline this whole set of new set of softwares which are discovered for the asset, or if they feel that there are certain assets which are discovered, it's not authorized and they need to uninstall that, they also get an option to uninstall from here. So they can just select the assets which they feel should not be there in that particular asset. They can just select and click on uninstall, where it can go ahead and uninstall that software from that particular assets. So that's how our asset variants for hardware and software variants, which could be shown up. Similarly, we can have multiple different software compliance report, where it can have different compliance using our wherever you feels that the software whatever it was showcase is non-compliant. So we can have a dedicated report from the software compliance perspective also using our reporting tool, where we can go ahead and check for such reports which are related to compliance, right? So I can go to software license compliance report, where it will showcase all these softwares related to which are non-compliant, right? License compliance. Basically, I can go through each of the licenses, what are there. I can check how many are my procured license against the valid licenses, how many we have, and how many are installed, and how many are available licenses. So if it is over consumed, you could also see what are those assets which is consuming that license, and take the necessary actions accordingly. Similarly, if I go down, I could also see on the dashboard, asset dashboard for the admins, where they can see the different OS flavors and number of installation against those each of those OS flavor. You would be able to see that. Further, if I go down, I could see the lifecycle management of the assets, where I can see number of assets which are in repair, number of assets which are pending acceptance, number of assets which are allocated but it's pending return from the end users. If there are any assets which are moving from one location to another, or one store to another, or if it has initiated the pending return movement, you could see that information here. And recently discovered assets, so we have the assets which are in the inventory, and we have some new set of assets which are discovery could discover those assets. And if you want to see what are those newly discovered assets, you'll be able to see that in the recently discovered assets, right? And then we can also see the assets which are not contacted for last 30 days. So there might be assets which discoveries is not able to contact from last 30 days. I would be able to see that information also. Similarly, any assets whose age is more than 4 years, which is you want to have a report or a dashboard where it shows that what are your assets which has completed 4 years of its life cycle. So you'd be able to get that information, and the warranties or the contracts which are expired or about to expire in next 30 days, you'd be able to get that information, right? Now, if I have to see what are those 139 assets which are newly discovered, I can just simply click on that. I can check that what are those newly discovered assets also. Not only that, I can also go and go to new discovery, and I could see all the assets which are newly discovered. And from here, the asset admin can simply select the assets which he sees from the newly discovered assets, and take an actions like going and onboarding those assets into the system. Like for example, I will select this couple of servers, and I would say I want to import this into my store. I can just select that. I can select the category, where I can select for what category this is, and then I just go ahead and select the stores. We're using the stores. This store is completely configurable based on your geographical location, how it has been placed, where it can be your country, and within the country different states, and within the states you can have different cities and campuses and different floors where the stores are has to be created. You can select the store, to which store you want to allocate the or move this particular newly discovered assets. And you could also have substatuses. This is completely configurable from the system, the values what you would like to see in the substatuses. So you could just specify whether this as like in stock, and then just click on submit. So that way you would be able to go ahead and move this newly discovered asset into that specific category. So if I have to click on submit, it will just go ahead and import those two assets into the system. Similarly, our asset management is broadly classified into four different sections, right? As a fixed assets, consumable, accessories, and software. So under fixed assets, I would be able to see all the fixed assets in my inventory. Could be like laptop, desktop, your servers, network switches. So you could define your categories. Against each of the categories, you can provide whether it's an IT assets or non-IT assets. And against each of them, you could see how many are in allocated status, how many in store, inactive, in repair, right? So if I have to see all my allocated assets as an asset admin, I can just select the in allocated status, where I can see all the assets. I can have multiple different actions which I can perform for the allocated assets as per the lifecycle management. Like I can go ahead and reallocate the asset wherever it's necessary, or I want to deallocate the asset, or deallocate and deactivate the assets, or move this asset from one flow to another flow, or I have to initiate a reconciliation, or I want to print a barcode. Like for example, I say that I want to print a barcode for this set of assets. I could just simply select that, click on print barcode, which will show up uh, uh, the printable format, which I can print on any of the stickers and paste it against all the assets, right? And this is completely configurable as per your requirement. What information you would like to include within your barcode or QR code, you get that flexibility to do that. And once you paste this barcode or QR code to all your assets, then you can initiate a physical asset verification process to do that, right? Now, coming back to one of the fixed assets. So I'll just open up one of the fixed assets, which will have the complete information about that specific assets, like what category of the asset it is, what is the current asset condition, to whom the asset has been allocated to, who is his manager. Then you want to see the asset history. You would also be able to see the asset history, where you would be able to see that initially the asset was allocated to one user called Ran, and it was from Ran, it was returned on 3rd of August 2021, and again it was reallocated to multiple users, that is Ran and Tyler, on 3rd of August. So you get those information also. So if the asset is also initiated any movement process, you will be able to see that under movement history. Or if the asset is moved to repair, you'll be able to track that. Audit trail for each of your assets. This is again one of your compliance requirement, where you want to make sure that any changes to the assets, those are completely audited. So you get that information, where you'll be able to see which is that attribute, which has got changed, what is the old value, new value, who has performed the change, when it was changed, how it was updated. You'll be able to see all those information, right? Similarly, if there are any non-fixed assets like consumable accessories or softwares to that particular asset, you'll be able to see that information under the non-fixed assets. And if you have initiated any reconciliation for the assets, you'll be also able to track that information also. Going back to the asset information, you would be able to see not only this information, you can also see additional set of information like the model number, serial number. There are multiple different things which you would be able to see, which can be updated either via our discovery or through an API. We would be able to integrate and get that information. Like for example, you want to get some financial details, we would be able to integrate that through the ERP system and get this information. And each of these attributes, whatever you see, can be different for based on the different categories. So for desktop, you could have these categories, but if it is for server or network devices, you can have different set of attributes. And these attributes are completely configurable at the UI level. You don't require any coding knowledge to do that. So as an asset admin, they can go to the form builder and they can just go ahead and use a form builder to build those form. Like for example, the desktop what I was showcasing, I can just go to the desktop form builder here. And here also, while creating any categories, you could also define how your asset code has to be, or asset tag has to be deployed. So you get that flexibility to build your own asset tags. You can use different combination to include the asset type or the asset location, or you can have the sequential number or other information to build your asset codes. If I go to my form builder, this is where I'm going to build the form. So you could see that in my asset, the model number, serial number, client name, these were built using this form builder. And this is all the attributes what you saw there in the table, right? And how to build this, you can just drag and drop or just click on the simple controls on the left hand side, and you'll be able to build your form as per your different categories what you're going to use, right? Similarly, if I go to my software discovery, it would showcase all the softwares pertaining to that particular asset. You'll be able to see all the software information for that particular asset. And if there are any softwares which are unmapped from that particular asset, you could also see those details also under the unmapped software details. Right. Similarly, if I go to hardware discovery, it will show all the hardware information pertaining to that particular asset. That is the host name, the serial number, the CPU detail, the model number, hard disk, RAM size, any IP address, any additional IP address related to that, you will be able to see that information. number of cores, the processors, who is the manufacturer. All this information, our hardware discovery can discover and provide that information. Not only that, if there are any software related license keys you want to store, you want to see that information also would be shown up here. And since our system is an integrated system, which also has service management, which allows users to log issues or log tickets for the assets what they use. So if there are any tickets pretending to that specific asset, as an asset admin, they can see at one go how many tickets were logged for this particular assets, or how many requests which were raised for this particular assets, or any contracts associated to this assets. You would be able to see all those such information from the asset details page, right? And not only that, as an asset admin, they also have an option to initiate remote desktop for the end user machines. So they could use either the basic option, which would be over the internet, where over the intranet, where they can connect to the user machine using a stealth mode. And they could also use advanced remote desktop using Microsoft Teams or Screen Connect from ConnectWise, which they can use to do the remote desktop for the end user machines. Right? Moving ahead, from the compliance perspective, we also have contract management, where you could able to manage all the contracts for your assets. Uh, so you could have all your vendor contracts onboarded into Summit system, where it can have what the contract is all about, what's the financial information about that particular contract, the contract start date, end date, and all the necessary information related to the contract. You would be able to see that, and you could also go and relate all your assets, could be your hardware assets or software assets. Based on the contracts, you get an option to link those assets here, and based on the contract end date, there could be multiple different notifications which could be triggered, where the asset admin can take the necessary action before the expiry of that particular contract, right? Similarly, if there are any extension to the existing contract, or if you're making any changes to the existing contracts, those are also stored in different versions. So you can have multiple contract versions, which could be used to track your different contract versions. So if you have to see what was my previous contract version, you could just simply click on those versions to see what is your contract version for that particular time, right? Similarly, we do also have an option for a gate pass movement. So whenever the asset moves from one location to another location, or for the repair process, you can initiate for the movement approval, where you could also have this approval mechanism, where the approvers can go ahead and approve or reject before that particular asset moves out of the premises, right? And this is the form where movement approvers can take necessary action either to approve or reject. Whenever the asset is moving, they can see the complete asset details, and they could also print gate pass. So this gate pass printing option is available, and this gate pass is also configurable as per your requirement, where you would be able to see all the information which can be printed and physically can be signed by the security before it is moves out of your premises, right? That's about our gate pass movement. Then we also have our asset blacklisting, where you would want to do any blacklisting or whitelisting of the softwares. You would be able to do that. So you can just simply select which are the softwares for which you want to do that. You can search by the vendor, and it will showcase all the assets which are available. And then you can take the necessary action by selecting each individual assets, to either you want to do it as a blacklist that software, or whitelist, or you don't want to perform anything, you can just keep it as none. So that way you would be able to do that. So whenever you blacklist that software, so it will stop allowing the users to deploy or use that particular software into their machines, right? Whereas whitelisting, it will allow those softwares to be used by the asset administrators, or or the end users to use that particular softwares in their particular asset, right? So similarly, we can have multiple different options, even from the lifecycle management perspective, for your asset inventories, where you would be able to perform, if you want to allocate the asset in bulk for the users, you would be able to do that. So you can just go to the assets, go to in-store assets, and you can perform bulk allocation of the assets wherever it's necessary. So you can just select multiple assets, and you can use the bulk allocate option, or you can just select each asset and you can just click on allocate asset, using which you would be able to allocate either to the single user or multiple user, or to the department, or location or customer. You can use multiple different option to have the allocation option. And this allocation, again, you can allocate to the specific store or location, or to the particular building. So you can just select everything based on your configuration. You can select that. You can select the user to whom you want to allocate. You can select the user there, and then select the allocation date, whether you are allocating today or a specific date. You can just select that. And if as a process, if your uh, end users are logging a ticket for that, you could also capture the ticket number here as a request ID, and what's the purpose of the asset. All these are completely configurable uh, options on the drop down. And asset usage type, all these are configurable option which you could use it to do the allocation of the assets. So I'll just put some test data here and click on submit. So that's how I would be able to do the manual allocation of the asset through our asset discovery. So let me just go back, select a specific store and click on submit. Right. So that's how the allocation of the assets are possible for all your in-store assets. And you could also have an option wherever you want to initiate a repair process, or you want to track all your faulty assets. You want to move the assets to the faulty status. You would be able to do that. Once you move to faulty status, then you would also get an option to send to repair option. So we do have the complete lifecycle management of the asset with that perspective, right? Saying this, I would say that Symphony AI Summit Asset Management solution helps is a very powerful tool for your BFSI segment, offering not only the robust framework for tracking and managing assets, but also substantially cost reductions and enhanced compliance. By adopting Summit solution, your BFSI segment can fortify their security, streamline operations, and thrive in ever-evolving regulatory landscape. Right. With this, I would ask the host to have the second polling question. Thank you for your response. At Symphony AI Summit, we understand the complex landscape of IT asset management and regulatory compliance. Rest assured, our comprehensive suite of solutions is designed to address the challenges highlighted in the poll.
Thank you, Deepak, for that lucid yet comprehensive understanding of what really is required to be compliant, regulatory compliant. So we have a couple of questions. I'll read out them one after the other to you, and we have approximately 10 minutes to for questions. So we'll take as much as possible. So the first question, Deepak, that we have is. Do you have on-premise as well as SaaS-based offering, and what measures do you take for security with regards to SaaS-based offering?
So we do have both SaaS as well as on-prem solutions. When we say SaaS, it would be on our Summit Cloud, which is hosted on Azure. And when we say on-prem, it could be physical data center or customers' private cloud. So it could be hybrid. We support both the solutions. And with respect to the compliance from the SOC perspective, we are SOC Type 2 compliant, and we do also have VAPT, which is done for all our major releases, and which is done by our external partner auditors.
The second question that we have for you, Deepak, is from the regulatory guidelines perspective, what problem are you solving with the asset management, summit asset management solutions that you have?
From the regulatory perspective, you would be able to track the complete assets. The major challenges what we see is there are a lot of assets which are not trackable, or you're not able to track the complete where the asset is going, or where exactly it is. and you might be going ahead and procuring more assets, whereas you might have those assets already in your store, but you don't have any tracking mechanism to comply that, or using a compliance specifically from RBI guidelines. You're not allowed to have certain softwares deployed in your assets. How do you gonna control that? So we do provide those asset control, where you would be able to do blacklisting or whitelisting of those softwares, or you want to do the complete endpoint compliance, where you want to see whether particular softwares are deployed with the right version into that particular endpoint, or your antivirus are up to date or not. So you want to have those compliance parameters built up. You would have those compliance in place. So with our asset management, with all the capabilities which we spoke about, it is actually helping as per the guideline what has been put up by either by RBI or SEBI.
So Deepak, I was also going through, these regulatory guidelines of various regulators. So where does the buck really stop for BFSIs? Because one needs to be also not only be cognizant of their systems, but also third party. And you also mentioned that, with more and more integrations, there are more and more integrations happening because of offerings. So where does really the buck stop?
See, with you are required to be integrated, because every banking solution also would use multiple different tools for different set of activities, right? If you take every banking solution would also have ERP tools to have those things, procurement for procurement management and other things. Those definitely you need to have integrated with the solution. Why? Because when tomorrow the compliance comes, the compliance is not just done from the asset perspective. It also compliance is done from the procurement perspective also, where the data has to be matched from both the sides, right? So you need to have those integration in place. You cannot forego that integrations. And our integrations are again our secured layer, which is also done in the through the secure medium, where all the required encryptions are in place to make sure that there's nothing, no leakages are there. And we do go with REST API integration, which also use token-based authenticator, so you don't require to store any kind of passwords or anything. So all are well encrypted, and we use the secured layer for encryptions also, and for all the integration purpose also.
Mhm. So, final couple of questions that we have. I'm sure you can spare that time for us. There seems to be a sudden spurt in regulations, changes in regulations by almost all financial regulators of late. So, the first question there, what do you think is the reason? And the second question, final question that I have is that in terms of compliance, where are BFSI in your assessment survey, understanding knowledge? How compliant are BFSIs as of now?
So the main thing why we have such a stringent compliance parameter from different financials for the financial sectors or banking sector is to ensure the transparency and fairness, especially with respect to the investors, because they are, and it's an investment what your end customers are doing with your bank. So it becomes very important to have this guidelines which needs to be followed, especially to bring out those transparencies and fairness with respect to the regulatory system, whatever it's been there, right?
Right.
uh, because what happens is, with complying to this, having this, following these guidelines, definitely the banking sector or the financial sector would go for those certain tools which actually needs these guidelines, to make sure that which provides the end result what exactly these guidelines is asking for, right? And these solutions whatever are built based on those guidelines, and security is kept into the purview before providing these solutions for this segment. So it's very important, because of the compliance with all the cyber security and resilience framework, whatever you have, you need to have those transparency and fairness. That's what I would say, why you're required to have this compliance in place.
We have just one more question which has come. So, do you have any native integration with any risk management solution?
Yeah, we would be able to integrate with any risk management system whichever there in the market. So we have been doing it for multiple different customers as such. So any risk associated, or if there are any specific thing you want to have any kind of an alert to be integrated to manage those risks, yes, we would be able to do that. So we have, as a product, we have multiple different set of verticals. So what we predominantly looked upon today is only from the asset management perspective, but we do also have a service management solution comprising of all the ITIL 12 processes, which is being verified, where we be able to comply to that. And then we also have our automation to automate certain different things, right? And we also have something called as mom layer, where we can integrate with any monitoring solutions for any kind of alerts or events which are initiating, which can do an auto ticketing wherever any risk comes into the picture. So basically, risk identification is basically an alert which needs to be integrated to have an associated auto tickets initiated to the specific team to look into those risks and take the necessary actions. So we would be able to seamlessly integrate with any of those monitoring solutions which is available on the market to do the same.
All right. So thank you so much, Deepak. It was really refreshing to know that there are solutions. And as you said, that it's an ever-evolving space. So I'm sure that your offerings and the solutions that are coming in the market are also going to evolve themselves with the the dangers are increasing day by day, and and with the load, and India is looked upon as the leading beacon in terms when it comes to BFSI, as the world is looking up to us. So I'm sure that we need to have solutions which are world class, which are cutting edge, and ahead of the curve. So thank you for joining us here today, and I thank all our listeners also to join. In case you have questions, you can send it to us, and we'll try to get them answered from Deepak or the team as much as possible. And we'll see you again from ETBFSI. I thank everyone for joining us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for giving me an opportunity. It was really good, and looking forward to connect individually with each one of you.